You know you're special.
Oh, I know. I'm sorry.
She's a beautiful sunflower.
She is. Okay.
I think she will give us a go.
Okay.
Yeah, I could be wrong. We should have asked her about that. But.
Okay. Thank you for doing it.
You're welcome.
We all just feel like we want to die. I'm just going to tell you.
Oh, I know. But it's better than doing it with each other because then you crack up and laugh at each other. So I've been there too.
That's true. Are we ready?
She'll probably tell us over the
Oh,
walkie-talkie.
there it is.
Might blow you out of the water if she goes over it though. She may come back through. Oh, okay.
Yay. Well, hello. My name is Tanya. Very nice to meet you today.
It's nice to meet you as well.
Why don't you go ahead and let's get started, break the ice, and you tell me something about yourself.
Okay. Well, I am 28 and I am an outpatient therapist at a community agency. I have been in a relationship for quite some time, and I don't know. I'm not sure what else. I like video games.
Okay. Well, so tell me about being an outpatient therapist. What does a day look like in the life of you?
Oh, okay. Well, usually I get into work around like 8:45, 8:30 because I like to be early. I don't like to be rushed. And then I, like on a Monday, schedule myself back to back, 9 o'clock. And then my last client is from 5 to 6. So I usually don't schedule breaks so that when somebody doesn't show up, I kind of have that opportunity. So it's a little bit crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What are some pros and cons about working in this field?
It's rewarding. I think that would definitely be a pro. I like what I do, and I like getting to meet all kinds of different people, and help them get to wherever it is they want to be, as long as it's in a positive light. Some of the cons are, just being at risk of taking on other people's stress, not having a whole lot of time to myself, which I think that's probably true for most people once they, get out in the world and start working. Being on call,
Right.
that's kind of hard, but luckily I don't have to physically go anywhere, so that's nice.
So on one hand, you are happy about seeing people meet their goals, and it's rewarding work. But on the other hand, you feel like maybe you're not getting enough time for self-care, and you're downtime, and you don't like the call so much. What are some ways you think you can create some time for self-care?
Well, I have recently, although not super consistently, started going to this place called Lady Fit. So that's kind of self-care, like physically and mentally.
Okay.
My weekends, as long as I stay on top of my stuff, are pretty much mine, to a point. So I have that to, do kind of whatever it is that I want to do. Although that's also when like cleaning and grocery shopping happens.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So physical fitness is important to you.
I would like for it to be. That is a goal.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about this relationship.
Well, I've been with my partner for a couple of years, and I don't know. We have fun together. We have a lot of the same interests. Not necessarily the same drives in terms of being motivated and things like that, so that comes into play sometimes. But
So this maybe creates a little bit of chaos at times in the relationship.
yeah, but I think most people, go through at least spurts of that sometimes. So
Okay.
we've come a long way.
Okay. How well would you say that you and your partner communicate?
At this point in time, I would say pretty well.
Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, where do you think your communication is?
On my end or his?
Well, both.
Okay. And on his end, I would probably say 4 or 5.
What are some ways you think that you guys could improve your communication and your relationship?
Well, one way we have is kind of learning what the other person needs. I kind of like to sort things out in the moment, whereas he's more of a leave me alone, give me space, I can't talk about it right now kind of person.
Okay.
So just being mindful of that, even though sometimes it's really hard.
What are some ways you think you could get him to open up to you?
I mean, really, I think given that space, and maybe not coming at him. I think sometimes I get frustrated pretty easy, and sometimes when I'm anxious, it comes out like angry.
So just like him having his space is important to you, you having your space is important to you. Well, it's commendable that you've recognized that sometimes saying nothing is just as good as, saying it all.
Right.
So what are some other things that you like to do? How do you spend your time?
Well, I do like to hang out with friends,
Okay.
so I try to hang out with, usually I spend at least dinner or a couple hours with, a handful of people, ideally once a week, so I try to make sure of that. When I work long days, I come home and usually I'll watch a movie I've seen 500 million times, which is comforting, or play video games. I do spend quite a bit of time doing that, but I like to stay busy, and I think maybe that's part of my stress too, is feeling like I always have something to do or need to be doing something. So I think a goal would be trying to turn that off at some point.
So you feel a need to feel sometimes that you've accomplished something because you like to fill every moment with something. That makes you feel as though you've accomplished something.
Right.
Okay. What are some ways that you can utilize your time in the day to which you don't have to feel so like you have to do that? What are some things that maybe you can eliminate or other things that maybe you can put off to another day? What are some things that maybe you could move around in your schedule?
Well, I'd like to have like an actual built-in break at some point, so I can do things. An hour is only going to get me so far, but that's if I did that every day, that's 5 hours more than I've had. And I do try to take care of things in between the people that I meet with, phone calls, emails, those sorts of things. But in terms of making big changes, I think scheduling a break would be one of those.
And it's good that you recognize that because that self-care is important, and it's good that you recognize that self-care is important. Going back to your job, what is the most interesting type of situation with a client? Not talking about any names or anything. What's the most interesting situation you've encountered on your job? Whether positive or negative.
Most interesting. That's a challenging question.
However you want it, if it's been the most difficult situation, or if it's been a pleasant situation, or something that's left a lasting impact on you.
I would say probably interesting and difficult.
Okay.
Kind of out of the ordinary, at least in my experience, which isn't too many years. I had a client who started out using cocaine daily, and I guess because of financial reasons or maybe not being able to get it, she started using MDMA every day. And I would encourage her to seek a higher level of care, to go to an IOP group, go to a rehab facility, those sorts of things. And she eventually did, but it took her 4 or 5 months to do that. So it was really difficult because pretty much every week I would meet with her, I could see her deteriorate, and I had to have those conversations with her, and that was really challenging.
After seeing her each week, and maybe after you see her walk out of your office or the space that you all were meeting at, how did you process that? Like, what types of things were going through your mind when you met with her each week?
Just her safety and like ethical concerns in terms of her being outside of my scope, just because she needed more intensive care than weekly therapy, which I couldn't provide her just where I'm at. I use supervision a lot to process my reaction to it, and also try to find ways to help encourage her to do those things. But ultimately, self-determination came into play, and she eventually did seek help. So
Good.
it had a happy ending in that sense.
Good. What are some ways that you like to decompress after meeting with your clients? Like just to take a minute and just relax.
Sometimes I like to walk it off.
Yeah.
There for a while, now it's freezing outside, I would get into the habit of kind of walking around the office park building. And I think sometimes you physically have to shake things off,
Yes.
so that is really helpful. Sometimes just like flopping on someone else's couch and talking to them about it is helpful too.
So communication
Yeah.
with a peer is really important to you. Okay. Well, I just want to take a little bit of time to kind of summarize, if that's okay with
Sure.
you, the type of things that we've talked about today. You told me that you are a therapist, and that you are in a relationship, and although you all have a good relationship, and there are some communication things that you guys are working through or you would like to improve, and you find that exercise and communicating with a peer or a staff creates opportunities for you to decompress and to kind of let it all out, and gives you a time to be yourself. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about? Is there something else that you'd like to talk about today?
I think you pretty much covered it.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, I'm done, guys. It's a wrap. I ain't got nothing else.
Nice job. You didn't die.
I did.
You didn't
I
die.
was unraveling slowly. I ain't gonna make it.